Today, I should have been making my Saturday grab bag, and I might yet be making it. But of course, there's one article of the news which cannot fit into the grab bag, and that's the row between Zelenskyy, Trump, and Vice President Vance. Now, I have to make it clear, I've always supported the Ukrainian side here, and not just because I have some philosophical idea about Ukraine being nice people. They're not. They're horrible people. They collaborated with the Nazis during the Second World War. They did some terrible things to their minorities, not only the Jews, other minorities too. And the country has a corruption problem. Actually, not as bad as the corruption problem in Russia, but that's another matter. No. Why did Putin invade Ukraine in the first place? And I'll tell you why, and this is why we should be very careful about where we place our loyalties. This is a map of Ukraine. You see these areas here? Now, okay, for those of you not much up with the Ukrainian geography, Russia is here. That's the Crimea. And this is Ukraine, generally. Now, the deeper the orange, the more wheat they produce. And they produce a lot of wheat anyway. Wheat and sunflower oil. The sunflower oil mostly goes to India. The wheat goes to Africa mostly. It goes to the Middle East. It goes to the Levant, Syria and Iraq. They import wheat from Ukraine and Russia. They also produce wheat here. This is a map of Africa. These are areas that import wheat from Ukraine and Russia. Now, my estimation of the situation is that Russia wanted Ukraine because when they've got all this, and they wanted the whole of Ukraine, of course, and having got the whole of Ukraine, they would have the market for wheat sewn up for all of these areas of Africa. This is Libya, this is Tunisia, this is Egypt, of course, this is Sudan, here's Somalia. This bit here, that's the Democratic Republic of the Congo, I suppose, and this is Mauritania over here. They all import tons of wheat from Ukraine and Russia at the moment. They can sort of negotiate on the price because they can buy it either from Russia or Ukraine. These countries here are like 2 days from revolution over hunger. The people are literally, many of the people in these countries are living from hand to mouth, from the next piece of bread to the next piece of bread. And if Russia had control of Ukraine, then those countries in North Africa and even, as it turns out, in Central Africa are in a position to be completely blackmailed with regards to their foreign policies. So when Trump is talking about giving away Ukraine in this way, he is talking about giving the sort of power to Russia which will result in all these countries absolutely voting with Russia in the United Nations and in other ways. And that's why I support Ukraine. And the people in Europe know exactly what's going on as well. In the case of Europe, it was energy that Russia was blackmailing people over. Fortunately, he played his hand a little too early and it didn't work. But anyway, with that in mind, perhaps those of you who disagree with my position on Ukraine might at least understand why I hold that position. So I'm going to be talking about the row that Zelenskyy had with Trump and Vance in the White House. And I'm just going to be giving you my opinion. I've seen a few clips, but I haven't seen the whole thing, so I'll be reacting to most of it as it happens. Okay, I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. So what I'm going to be doing is reacting to what I see is going wrong in this discussion. Now, it may not be going wrong. It may be going right by Trump's plans. But I'm just talking about what I see from the outside at first flush. Right, so let's get started.
He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners.
So Zelenskyy, I don't know what happened before, but Zelenskyy is saying that Putin is not to be trusted. He makes agreements that he doesn't stick to. This is likely to irritate somebody like Trump, who believes that he has an understanding with Putin that they will both stick to. I think he's wrong, but then again, he knows about deals. So, it's his call. I can just give you my opinion. There's a nice bit in Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra where one of Cleopatra's servants says, you're not treating Antony right. You should agree with everything he says and do everything like him. You shouldn't be giving him hell. And Cleopatra says, you're telling me how to lose him. In that, and it looks like this is a similar situation here. I'm telling Trump that he's wrong. He may be, I'm not an international leader, am I? Right, let's carry on here.
Signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD?
And so from my point of view, looking at what Zelenskyy is saying, it's very reasonable. Putin is a tyrant who is not to be trusted, and giving way to him isn't helpful.
You are speaking about what do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but
Vance has a point, but he is being aggressive. Now, I don't know whether Trump rehearsed this with Vance before the meeting started. He could very well have done that. I don't have any problem with this, but my friend here now, he does have a problem. One of those sort of mafia things. But I don't believe from the couple of clips I've seen of the way Vance acted, he has not acted properly. We have to remember that, and they know this, of course, that Zelenskyy is in an extremely weak position. He is a guest in somebody else's house. And then he's got these two people fighting him, which is, of course, an unfair fight, if you want to look at it in that way. So Vance is taking advantage of this, and I don't think he's being honourable in that way. But then again, that may be not the effect they're trying to get. So, next. Now, I suppose you noticed that Zelenskyy has now crossed his arms, a standard defence position. And both of them know that. They're both sitting forward. There's Trump in his usual hand position like that, and Vance leaning forward. They're echoing each other's body language, and there's Zelensky sitting back. He suddenly feels he's under onslaught. And yes, he is. I mean, he's quite right about that.
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's just...
When somebody says with respect like that, you know that it's the exact opposite.
Respectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring in...
Right, now, he's right. Ukraine is on a losing side because numerically they don't have the sort of meat wave capabilities that Russia has. On the other hand, I don't think anyone, obviously I have people making comments under my videos saying that I shouldn't be with Ukraine, but I am with Ukraine. That's my position. America, under Biden, encouraged Ukraine to fight, but then didn't give them enough tools to fight with or constrained their abilities. And that was wrong too. And that's why the war has got to the stage it has got to and lengthened out as long as it has lengthened out. So this is partly the Biden administration's fault. But Vance is not being polite now, and he should be more polite about this. He's got a good argument. I can see the validity of that argument, but he's not being, he's being a bully about it. And that's, that's not nice. Well, yeah, all right.
Into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to...
Count once.
I've actually...
And there, Zelensky has lost his temper. The fact is that none of these guys, not one of them is a diplomat, has spent any time in any sort of diplomacy whatsoever. Zelensky was more or less propelled into the situation of being a president that he's in. And this guy is a showman. And this guy is, he's a, sort of soldier turned combative senator. The point is, none of them has come up in any way through any sort of diplomatic tradition. So they are having a fist fight here. Which is interesting in itself. It's a new sort of politics in the West, at any rate, where in the West, say in places like Britain, where diplomacy was conducted by public school, that is private school educated boys who'd been in debating societies when they were in their youth, and so they know about the fencing of debating societies. None of these guys has ever been in a debating society, and so they don't have those rules stuck in their heads. They're just going for it. And unfortunately, Zelensky, as is Ukraine, is outnumbered.
Watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful?
But just, again, this is a guy who's used to shouting down people in the political way. Everyone has problems bringing people into the army when they're at war. Russia has problems. Britain had problems even as it was fighting for its life during the Second World War. There were people who were avoiding conscription and all that sort of thing. So that's a very strictly unfair argument.
To come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country.
I don't know that he's attacking. He is stating his position very trenchantly. I wouldn't call that an attack, but both Vance and Trump are treating it as an attack. The whole thing could have been shut down right then and there if Trump had said, right, this is something that we should be talking about behind closed doors. Let's talk about the deals we're supposed to be doing to help Ukraine along. That's all it needed. But he let his attack dog loose in the shape of Vance. I'm a bit worried about Vance, actually. Not Trump. Trump set Vance onto him, but he's using Vance here.
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
Now, what Zelenskyy just said is no more and no less than the truth. You're not in Europe. You don't see the immediate threat of Russia. But that's because you have a moat around your castle. You have a nice ocean, he said, which protects you. So you're not feeling the effects, but you will in the future. And that's absolutely the truth. That is absolutely the truth. If Russia takes over part of Ukraine, it'll settle down. The status quo will carry on for a while, and then there'll be more trouble. And it might not be a physical battle. You know, whether you agree with that position or not, he is not being aggressive. He's stating the truth, that America can be isolationist because it's got that much distance between itself and what's going on in Europe right now. And that's not aggressive, that's the truth.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
Right, and that's where Trump is wrong. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. It's his opinion. He wasn't telling America what he was going to feel, what they should feel. He was telling America the situation as he sees it, and that's perfectly reasonable. And so I think Trump, I keep saying Trump is wrong. I'm not sure he isn't doing, I'm not sure this isn't strategy. I'm just saying how it looks from my observation of the argument.
We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
And did you see that hand motion there? He was pushing at Zelenskyy. Again, more body language. Zelenskyy defending himself, Trump pushing his hand into Zelenskyy's space. I mean, this is really bullying. And the point is, he might need bullying. I'm not arguing for and against here. I'm just pointing out that this is a man who is in somebody else's territory and being attacked by two people at the same time. And I find it very unpleasant to watch.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what you're
And there's the point. He put his hand out towards Trump. Again, in Trump's territory, and then Trump immediately countered with the aggressive. Now, the open hand like that is just placing himself in Trump's territory, but it isn't an aggressive gesture, it's passive aggressive. But Trump went for aggressive with the pointed finger, which is definitely aggressive movement.
We're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel...
Right, and he wasn't dictating what they're going to feel. He was telling them what would happen. And he's right. He is right.
Very
you will
good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position.
Yeah, he isn't in a good position. He's in an extremely weak position. Apart from the fact that there are all those cameras in front of him, and he's in the White House, isn't he? And then he's got these two powerful men attacking him like that. He is not in a good position.
You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he's
again the finger.
To be right about
From the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I was
Right, so he's talking about the beginning of the war, and Trump just keeps saying, you're not in a good position. Well, everyone knows that.
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing
But
cards.
right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
What do you think
You're
about-
gambling.
Right, now, Trump is making a point, and he's concerned that any escalation of the war will cause Putin to act badly and start lobbing serious hardware at the West generally. And I can understand that too. Who among us is a prophet? As somebody said.
With
What is
World
thinking
War
about?
III. And
Yeah.
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country. This country.
Right, now, I don't like it. I mean, Trump said World War III, and it's a possibility, and he may, he obviously, I don't know what he thinks, but the words coming out of his mouth show a concern for the possibility of nuclear war or a general war, and that is something that you have to think about, and that was reasonable. Then he says, you're being disrespectful. No, that is just plain rude. And that's the sort of thing you hear mafiosi saying in films, aren't you? When one of them pushes at some shopkeeper who's not paying protection and saying, now you're being very disrespectful. And I don't like that.
Country that's
with
back
all
to
respect
you
to your
far
country.
more than a lot.
And he says, I'm not disrespecting you. And he isn't actually. He's not, at this point, he is not disrespecting either of them. He's putting his case, and they are regarding him putting his case as being disrespectful. I don't think that's right.
A lot of people said
where
they
is that?
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for
What?
the United States
What
of
are you
America
speaking about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will
Now, at that point, he should have retired. He should have retired from the bout, Zelenskyy. That was a good place. You saw how Vance made his point, and then he sat back. He gave a slight. I'll just go back to that again. That's an aggressive position, and here he's forming a unit with Trump. And if you notice, they're wearing similar coloured suits and ties, and I think that was deliberate. Probably Melania came up with that idea of having them look like the same person. It's a bit like that thing in The Matrix, you know, where all these guys turned up in the same suit. But, okay, he makes his point. He pushes at Zelenskyy. He forms that unit with his hand across. So both of them are the same, but double. And then he makes his point, then he sits back.
Who's trying to save your country.
Right, he sits back. OK, I've made my point, and now let's finish this. But Zelenskyy doesn't do that. Zelenskyy, who is leaning forward at this point, continues the attack. Now, that's Zelenskyy's character. He should have stopped there. He didn't. So it continued.
please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can
not speaking loudly. He's not.
Trump didn't need to do that either. He wasn't shouting. He shouldn't have carried on, but he wasn't shouting. And it looked like he was trying to have a rational argument, and then Trump jumps in and stops him. And that has to be because Trump wanted this whole situation to happen.
Speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this.
I.
You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and
voted
you men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
Yes. What about West?
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our
You see how Trump is leaning into Zelensky now. Now it's descended into a slanging match.
military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell
you
you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times
that
thank
there,
you
accept
to
that,
American people.
accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I
over
understand,
there.
sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You
I'm-
don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look. If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want.
Right, and earlier on he did say that they made an agreement with Putin that Putin didn't keep. So, he's in an impossible position here.
A ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
that
what
wasn't
this
with me.
means. It
That was
wasn't
with
with
a
you.
guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
But this
That
is
was
your,
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't.
I haven't noticed him not being thankful. I have noticed him being frustrated and beleaguered. I'm very sorry for him. I'm sorry for Ukraine. And as I said, I can see Trump's point of view. But whether it's the right point of view or not, well, only history will tell us that.
Have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry,
It's going to
here.
be a tough deal to make, because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do you do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you
but
saying?
what if
She's asking, what if Russia
Putin
breaks the
breaks
ceasefire?
for the-
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now?
But they have
Okay?
broken ceasefire.
What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me.
But all-
Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden.
It looks an awful lot like Trump is now getting his own back on the media, really, for the Russia libel. And I don't for a minute believe that Trump was in any way in league with or owned by Putin. I do not believe that. I think I know that Democrat thing was just a means to undermine Trump's validity. So I can see why Trump is angry about that. And I have no respect for the Democrats for using that. However, you can see now, I think part of this situation here has to do with Trump's fury with the media about the Russia libel.
Joe Biden scam, Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is, I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing.
Now, that's not what the President of the United States should be saying to the President of another country. And he's putting him down. And you shouldn't do that, because he does represent another country. It may be smaller, it may be under more pressure, but it is another sovereign state. That's not polite, Mr. Trump.
I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right, we'll see what we can do about putting it together.
Guys, let's go. Guys, come on, let's go.
We'll see, I don't know.
All right, guys.
Right, well, that's the way I saw the argument. At one point, somebody says that, I have noticed, somebody said that at one point Zelenskyy called Vance a bitch in in Ukrainian. He used that word. I didn't hear that. But then I don't know Ukrainian, but I have seen that going round. He might not have said that. He might have said something else. There was a recent thing where somebody shouted from the crowd to Nigel Farage, "What do you think about what's happening to Tommy Robinson?" And Farage just shouted back, "It's wrong. It's wrong." I listened to that tape, that video a few times. He was definitely shouting, "It's wrong." But other people heard him say something like, "He deserves it," or I don't remember. Something along those lines. The point is, when there's a lot of heated conversation, people might hear what didn't actually happen. So I didn't hear him calling Vance anything, but he might have done, especially if it was in Ukrainian, which I don't speak. So that's it. The situation was wrong. What will all of this do? Well, I did think that what happened was that he gave the head of another country a dressing down because he knew he could. And in a couple of weeks' time, there's going to be a delegation of Arab leaders heading to the White House to try and deal with the Gaza business. They're all going to be quaking in their boots right now, or in their sandals, because they don't know what Trump's going to do. And with unpredictable things like this, they don't know how Trump is going to act and how Trump might embarrass them. And remember, Muslim culture is a shame culture. They wouldn't relish the idea of being in that sort of position in front of their people. That could be the end of their government when they got back, if they were shamed in that sort of way. So they're going to be all pretty worried. In fact, a lot of leaders are going to be pretty worried. Well, I'll talk about Starmer another time. At one point, which I missed while I was watching this, Vance said to Zelenskyy, why aren't you wearing a suit? And Zelenskyy said something like, I'll get into costume when the war's over. I mean, that really wasn't the right thing to say. They definitely, the pair of them, were definitely not acting well. But these Arab leaders are going to be worried about, are they going to be worried about what Vance says to them about wearing nightshirts or whatever? Who knows? Well, we'll see. I do believe that Trump and Vance they probably rehearsed it. They probably knew what they were doing. Zelenskyy stood his ground very well, too well in some situations. I'd say on the whole, Vance and Trump didn't come out of this as honourably as Zelenskyy did. However, that may be my bias. Right, well, yeah, that's my rundown of the Zelenskyy, of the three-cornered fracas that will be played again and again on many TV channels, and mine too. Okay, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.